yourself and showing us the true experience of motherhood. You are so right when you say that people don't speak about the difficult things. They speak
Mm.
about birth, they speak about the physical part of it,
Yes.
but hardly ever does anyone ever touch on the mental part of it.
Yeah.
So I think that is really great. So we can go on to our viewer questions, and then I think we'll hear more about your own story there as well.
Yeah.
So the first one is, how do I explain how I feel to my husband and my family?
Okay, so this is a really good question, and I think, um, so this is really something that's so dependent on your personality, and so I've always been, and Jill, I'm sure you can attest to this. I've always been very open about my feelings. I speak openly. I speak comfortably, confidently about my feelings, but that's not the case for everyone, and I think that that's where the challenge comes in. And so it's easy to say, do this, do that, but it's already such a reach when you find yourself in this place. Um, so for me, I think the important thing here is that no matter what, you need to open up, even if it is to your partner, to your mother. Um, but the important thing is to start the dialogue of I am not okay. Um, and so that's what I did first, was starting the dialogue with my partner and starting the dialogue. I'm not sure if you can hear my child crying. I apologize.
Okay.
So appropriate.
It's the
um,
real world.
it is. And
Yes.
mommy's just hiding away quickly. So I think it's important, for me, it was important to begin a dialogue with my partner first. And I'm saying that because my mother was is is a health professional, and so she's very in tune in that way. But for my partner, who isn't, he was the very first person that I needed to open up to, because I felt that all he was seeing was, you're crying a lot because you're not happy, or you're not sleeping. That's why you're crying all the time, and you're irritable because you're tired. But that means that we're never really getting to the root. We're almost speaking to the surface. So because obviously I'm tired, um, obviously I feel overwhelmed, but we're not speaking to what's beneath that. And so I needed to I needed to be open with my partner first and foremost, only because of course he was the one that was getting a lot of the irritableness, and a lot of the tears, and
Hmm.
the hostility, and so I can't imagine that to be a nice thing either. Um, and so I felt that because he was the other parent of this child, that he needed to know exactly where I found myself. And so, because he was also the person who I felt had the most insight, or should have the most insight into what the absolute full responsibility of caring for this child entailed, that in some way, shape, or form, he would somehow get a picture of what I'm speaking about. And I think an important thing for how this dialogue started for me was that we need to understand that there is an assumption, or there's the stereotype, it's a historical kind of stereotype, that motherhood is natural for women. If you are a woman, you are a mother, or you will be a mother. And I think that is fundamentally such a difficult thing,
Yeah.
because when women feel that this does not feel natural, they feel like I have failed. Because why
Yes.
does this not feel natural? It should feel natural. In the same way that women feel that a woman is supposed to breastfeed, so why can I not breastfeed?
Hmm.
So that was the very start of me needing to get this man to understand that motherhood is natural, that the assumption that motherhood is natural for women is, I believe, inaccurate. And it is more the fact that, yes, a woman is more prone to be the nurturer, but that does not make being a mother a natural thing, in the sense that I don't know how to mother. In the same way that you have no idea how to parent when you become a parent, and you learn
Yes.
as you go along, that's exactly what it is for me. So when you look at me and I'm home with my baby for the first time, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never done this before. But there's this pressure that you should know because you're a mother, or you're a
Yes, and
woman.
that skewed expectation can put a lot
Right,
of pressure on the woman because it's not
right.
like someone came and downloaded a file in your head the moment you gave
Exactly.
birth, that now when we
Exactly.
get home, you will know everything.
You will. And so the husband almost looks at the wife like, but you should know what to do. How would I know what to do if we both became parents on the same day? And so your knowledge and my knowledge is the same. Yes, my
Exactly.
body is able to produce breast milk. That's the only difference here.
Mm.
So I think that pressure is the first thing that I need my husband to understand that I'm not finding this natural. And
Mm.
so every day that we go through, I'm still going through this teething process as well. Um, and then I think that, being absolutely open with, so how can we manage this day to day so that we can see if you begin to deal better, so that we can kind of determine, is this just episodic in the sense that it's, almost the blues and it's just that initial settle of hormones because everything is still going crazy, your body's still kind of, adapting to life without the baby, in utero, or is this something that is chronic and we need to check it out? So, and I think when you are open with the person that you live with, um, you can be very clear with how you are feeling today or right now, or I really need you to just take the baby. I need a moment, or I really need an hour to just nap, or I really need to wash my hair. Um, as opposed to complaining, or you keep complaining, you're not grateful. I think it's important to open up about that struggle so that the person doesn't develop that kind of thinking of, why are you so ungrateful, why are you so unhappy. um so for me, that was the most important thing. And the fact that we need to flag that, just the same way as people develop, let's see, after giving birth, they develop a physical ailment. They have polyps, or they have, cysts or something, I don't know, excessive bleeding. Or for me, developing postpartum depression as a result of having a baby, it is an illness in that sense. And it's something that's also located in a certain part of your body, in your brain, in your chemical levels. So why is it that the one is cast under this, this very negative shadow, and others, where it's pertaining to other parts of your body, is not? Um, and so, yes, some people suffer from postpartum depression. Are they bad people? Are they bad mothers? No. And I think it's just so sad that people feel that they, or find themselves in a position where they don't want to ask for help for fear of.
Yes.
And for me, you are actually for me, the fact that you say to yourself, I need help because I want help for myself and I want help for my child, that is the most noble act of a mother, of a woman, is to say that I'm going to get help.
Yes.
um so I think, how do I explain how I feel to my husband and family? I'm not okay. This is not natural for me and I need more time. This is what I'm currently feeling. I cannot stop crying. I am thinking about my past life and I'm feeling so much guilt and I don't know why. But or I haven't yet made sense of this new identity. The person that I knew for 20 plus years of my life and this new person, they haven't yet married. So I'm not yet making sense of that identity. I need time. Um, I need help. So it's I would recommend, be as blunt and as simple as possible. I'm not okay. As and again, like I said, if you can highlight the fact that motherhood equals natural for all women, or I'm not okay does not mean I don't love my baby.
Mm.
The day that you feel that you've gained an understanding there, I think a lot of progress can be made. And I think the
Yes.
third thing for me with postpartum depression, unfortunately, is time. It
Mm.
takes time, and sadly, that initial period is not going to be an enjoyable one. It's not going to be a great one. And that's okay, because you will get to the other side, and it's okay. It's not ideal, and it's not what you envisioned and what you planned, but it's okay.
I saw the other day, you mentioned that your baby is 1 year and 4 months,
Yeah.
and I saw the other day you posted on Instagram that you found your sweet spot,
Yes, I did.
and I thought that was beautiful. Do you
And
want to
I
explain
just,
what you
yeah,
mean?
yes,
That?
so for me, I think the other thing that um, what I've done is that I've surrounded myself with this network of mothers. I think that was the first thing that I did when I gave birth. So I'm on Twitter. Twitter for me has been a very powerful platform. Hashtag mom Twitter. And so, reaching out, or not even reaching out, but just sharing in my daily thoughts about motherhood, and being in a network where other moms do the same thing. And it's almost a place where you're allowed to vent and no one thinks anything of it. And in that, I was connected to a group of mothers, and we actually then planned to meet because we had all given birth within a time frame of the end of October to the 15th of December. All our babies were born. There were 5 of them. So who better? So these were absolute strangers. I've never met them in my life. We met for the first time when our babies were about 3.5 months. And that, for example, that group of women have undoubtedly carried me through that first year, because who better to understand what I mean when I say I don't want to be a mom today? No
Most.
judgment, no judgment, absolutely nothing. Or 3 o'clock in the morning when you think you're alone, you see a message in the group and you realize, oh no, I'm not. I'm not the only one that's awake. So what I meant when I said that, my child is 1 year and 4 months, and I think I've reached my sweet spot, is realizing that maybe I wasn't, or infancy and having a baby, a small baby, maybe that wasn't really for me. I really didn't find that enjoyable, and that's okay. um, Watching my baby grow has brought me so much joy, and seeing him reach age 1, watching him become mobile, watching him not need to be in my arms anymore. And now that he's 1 year and 4 months, I said that it's my sweet spot because he's walking. He's saying so many new words. He's starting to follow or take an instruction, which I think is the cutest thing. Um, he's calling me and then telling me something which I find is so weird, because he's now saying mama, and then he'll talk, and I'm just like, oh my word. And yet all of this is happening, and this little boy is still this tiny frame who, still for me looks like a baby, but the development has just been immense. We can have fun, we can go outside, and I think to myself, maybe I am more of a toddler mom. Maybe this is where my enjoyment starts, where I now find myself smiling and grabbing my camera and, really watching his videos and laughing because, every day it's something new. And I realized that maybe this is my sweet spot. This is the first time where I found myself wishing that time could actually pause, because
Yeah.
this little boy who's now become this toddler and this defiant and, shouting and raising his voice because he's now developing this personality. This has been, for me, I'm in awe of this
And being
compared
fine
to
with
that
that.
little baby who is so
Yeah.
overly dependent, and I can't figure out why the baby's crying. I have no idea what's wrong. I can't console the baby. And
Mm.
now there's just this little person. And so I think from saying that, where I'm like, you know what, guys, maybe I am a toddler mom. And the other thing I want to say is it really gets better. Really, really gets better.
I'm sure there's so many moms out there now thinking, yes, I
It
hope it gets
really
better.
gets better. I'm saying this. It really, so many women told me that, and I actually wanted to throw them with something because I felt like it was just something they were saying. And I'm amazed. It really, really gets better. Would I want to do it over again? Maybe not for a very long time, but um, it really, really it feels lighter.
Yes.
Um, and it feels, for me, I always struggled with not being able to control it. I feel like I'm in more control now, um, if that helps.
Awesome. So I think you've answered the one viewer's question on how do I ask for help. Is there anything you want to add to that, or can we continue
Um,
to the next question?
so I think we will, Jill, you will be posting the resources in terms
Yes.
of where women can go for help. But like I
Yes.
said, I was just a normal person on Twitter, just tweeting about my feelings. And there were women I found who were in similar stages. And before I knew it, we had formed this little group, this little support group. And these four women who, like I said, I did not know before, and I wish that they were there when I was pregnant and through all of that, and that we had met when I had given birth and not 3.5 months later. But these women have undoubtedly been the pillars of strength that my husband can try as best as he can, but he will never truly be able to, find himself in my position. And with these women, there's this amount of sharing where they are the people that I can send 5 pictures of my baby to and they won't even think anything. I can send
Mm.
a picture of a cut in my baby's eye and they will give me a detailed analysis. I can send a video. I can ask him for ideas because he doesn't want to eat this today, or and we speak every single day. And what's happened is that it's no longer just about the babies. It's about me as a person, it's about how I'm feeling today. We've really seen each other go through the waves of no sleep, lots of sleep, then the babies go through regression, then they teeth, then they're sick. It's just, but we are there and we help each other through. And so for me, if it is possible that you are able to find or make up your own little group, whether it's two other women, then do so. So much strength can be found in a relative space where and just that realization of I'm not alone. Being awake at 3 o'clock, and our babies are 1 year and 4 months. Some are 1 year and 6 months because they like 2 months apart. But literally 2, 3 days ago, one of the moms messaged that it was probably like 3:30. How is the night going for everyone? Because our babies are already over 1 year old, but sleep is still a difficulty.
Yes.
Our babies are not sleeping through the night. And it's the
Mm.
reality. And by now, we're scratching our heads and like, sure, are they not supposed to be sleeping through yet? But I'm not alone. And just
Yes.
that, there's so much comfort in that. And then the other thing that I would definitely recommend is if you are by the means and you are truly worried about the fact that you don't feel like yourself and you don't feel that you don't see a light at the end, and you don't, then if you are by the means, consult a psychologist. I would absolutely recommend this. Consult a psychologist, and in that they will then determine the way forward. There is absolutely it's not a necessity that you go on medication. That the psychologist will then ascertain based on your consultation. So you shouldn't feel that, but if I go to a psychologist, they're going to tell me I need meds. That's not the case. A psychologist might be able to just go through therapy with you and process things and work through things, teach you certain tools or teach you certain methods to almost manage your feelings of overwhelm, of sadness, etc. So that's a big thing. And if it is then that they deem it necessary to go to a psychiatrist, even if it is that meds are necessary, it might only be on a short term. Um, so yes, I think here the important thing is no stigma. If we want to get to the other side, then we need to do what we need to do. And
Yeah.
I'm a very proud advocate of someone who has been on meds for the longest time since my diagnosis in 2008. And it's truly propelled my quality of life into a place where I can't imagine what it would have been like if I wasn't on meds.
Yes.
And then, of course, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, they have a hotline, which Jill will post. And then another place that unfortunately is probably not functioning at the moment is the Counseling Hub in Woodstock. They charge 50 Rand per session for people, and it's a means of making counseling and therapy accessible for the greater population who are not able to access private services. So this is also something that we can post, Jill, and people
Yes.
can read more about them. I think I've stand under correction, but I think they have a website as well. So we
Okay,
can
great.
post that resource. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So the next question, which I think, okay, let me read. I feel like I cannot connect with this baby. Even though I wanted her for such a long time, before she was born, I feared that she would hate me.
So I think that this is also something that, we all do it. It's a natural part of life. You dream about your wedding for years before you actually get married. And in the same way, you dream about your baby or giving birth or having that baby for years or for months before you're pregnant. When you're pregnant, you have this picture in your mind of when you hold that baby for the first time, when you go home for the first time. And I think a lot of that is rooted in that expectation that we set for ourselves. So we anticipate a certain reality. And then when it happens and we're actually there and we're with the baby, we realize, why does this not feel like, there's no explosions and there's no unicorns and there's no rainbows and there's no butterflies? What is going on? Is something wrong with me? Have I failed? So I think there's that expectation that we set and we don't feel it and we panic. We guilt ourselves. We put pressure on ourselves to feel it, and it just becomes such a negative spiral. So I think,
Yeah.
so like I said, I found that I was very mechanical in the beginning and I was meeting my child's needs. And I realized now that, yes, I didn't have stars in my eyes, but doing what I did for my baby in those early days, even though it was very mechanical and robotic and I just did what I needed to do, that is also a manifestation of an act of love, an act of service. And so I think it's also just about changing that understanding of I'm not a good mother because, but you caring, you're doing what you need to do. And so you may not feel like you want to shout it off of the rooftops, but you're still doing a pretty good job. Um, and I think that, again, in terms of not connecting, I think you also need to remain very mindful of how long that proceeds on, if it worsens. And again, like I said, if your thoughts start to change, they become obtrusive, you start to get this, intense fear of hurting your child, of hurting yourself, then that's the point at which I would say you're probably in danger and you need to then seek help. But I think if it's just that, this doesn't feel natural and this doesn't feel like it's my child and, those kind of feelings, if you feel that it's just there, I would say allow time because for me personally, when eventually, after months, when I developed some sort of rhythm, it just somehow starts to feel a little bit, I hate using this word, but a little bit more natural. It started to feel a bit more like, okay, this doesn't feel weird. Um, but, again, I didn't have any obtrusive thoughts or dangerous thoughts. So I didn't need to rush out and urgently, get intervention. But if it is that those are your thoughts, then you cannot wait for that connection to happen. You actually need
Yeah.
to go for help because that can be dangerous. And Joel, we spoke about this. Um, I think that it's also okay when we admit and say it out loudly
Yeah.
that I don't always like being a mother.
Mm.
And this does suck a lot of the time. And I think that is why my sweet spot, like I said, 1 year, 4 months. Because I feel like those early days sucked a lot of the time. Very unpredictable. There were so many things happening. Before you know it, your child is teething. Then you have that whole other challenge. It really sucked a lot of the time. And then you're nearing the end of your maternity leave. You're expected to go back to work. Now suddenly you're expected to be a productive, working person. And you must be a mother and a spouse. And I think that honestly, it really sucked a lot of the time. And being able to say that, and again, I draw back to my mom group. We say it so often
Yeah.
that this really sucks. Or, some days we'll literally be like, my child is really not being a nice person today. And that's
Mm.
fine. It's
Mm.
absolutely fine. Because not for a second will I look at you and think this woman doesn't love a baby.
Yes.
No
So,
ways.
so something I think the viewers will hear me saying a lot over many interviews, and it leads back to what you are saying. It links back to that. You cannot be 100% wife,
Mm,
100% at your job, 100% mother, 100% friend. You
yeah,
can't be 100% to everybody all the time.
all the
And
time. Yeah.
sometimes we put that pressure on
Oh,
ourselves.
yes.
whatever role we play, because it's not always that someone else is expecting that from
Expecting it,
you.
yes,
But
yes.
you expect it from yourself, and you feel if I don't meet this bar that I've set, then I am doing something terribly wrong. Then I
Wrong,
don't
yeah.
deserve to be any of the roles, you know?
And I
So
think the other difficulty, sorry, Joel, to interject, the other difficulty is the fact that unfortunately we've been socialized and we've been raised in a society where there are very specific gender roles and there are very specific roles and responsibilities that are almost delineated to a certain gender or sex. And so if you are a woman, then your top priority needs to be being a wife and being a mother.
yeah,
And so you then find that those need to be your two most important hats. And if you're a career person, that needs to shift downward. But then
yeah,
you find that actually I'm very passionate about my career. So now I want
mm,
to try and give 80-90% in my career, but everything else is also, struggling. And to be honest, in those early days, you really just do what you need to do to get by,
mm.
because it's the absolute it's an absolute hard thing. And for me, I mean, I would openly say it was the hardest thing I've ever done. The
Yes.
hardest thing I've ever done.
So the last two questions fall under the same category. So the one person is asking, I'm not a mother yet, but what is this big thing? Why is there such a big stigma surrounding postpartum depression? And the other person is saying, how do I even start looking for help when everyone around me makes me feel guilty and like I'm a pathetic mother? Because, and I think stigma, guilt, the feelings
Mm.
of making you feel like you're a bad mother, that kind of falls under the category, the same category almost.
And again, it's unfortunately the society we find ourselves in, where
Yeah.
a woman is expected to be a certain thing, and when you are not, then you are deemed unfit, or your responsibilities are skewed because you place more emphasis on one thing and not on the other. Um, and I think that when the people around you are making you feel guilty and telling you that or saying that you're pathetic, I think that for me the difficulty is, who are you surrounding yourself with? Because a spouse or a
Yes.
partner who I'm able to have an open and honest dialogue with, who needs to share this role of parenting with me, or if I'm a single
Mm.
mother and I have the support of my parents, people that I can be open with, then I think we need to be human first.
Mm.
Um, and especially if it's a struggle that you do not know. So if, for example, I'm a sibling and I've never had a child before, then it's a very difficult thing for me to tell, someone that you're a bad mother. I think it's about, if you don't know how to react to someone being a mother or struggling with being a mother, then be a human first. Be kind
Yes.
first.
Humanity always wins.
Just be human first. I feel like we don't even need to be speaking about motherhood, and just be a nice person first.
Yes.
Um, and I think for the person that doesn't have a child, who wonders about the stigma, I think the stigma that we find ourselves with around postpartum depression is unfortunately one that is really clouding the entire. It really covers the whole of mental health, that stigma, um, and I think we've come a long way, where people are reaching a point where they're a lot more open, especially on social media. People speak about it a lot more openly. People access mental health services and are very open about it. People speak about meds more openly. So I do think we've made a lot of strides. Um, but I think that we still have a long way to go. And I
Definitely.
think postpartum depression is one of those things where um, there's this stereotypical view in people's minds of what postpartum depression looks like. And
Yeah.
it's someone, sitting in a corner, who's crying, who hates a baby, who it's just this very negative picture. And I think that's why I wanted to share what the things that I experienced, because no, I wasn't sitting in a corner pushing my baby away, but I wasn't also necessarily a very happy or very functional person.
Yes.
So I think that if you find yourself struggling, I think it's also about evaluating what your stance is on mental health. Um,
Mm.
and I think that when you fall pregnant, the reality is that you do become vulnerable to postpartum depression.
Mm.
It is unfortunately something that is linked to having a baby. So it's something that may or may not happen. It's not something
Yeah.
that you want to
We don't
preempt,
know.
but the reality is that it's something that may happen to you. And so I think it's about remaining open to that reality and and being okay with the fact that I may need to go for help if this becomes more challenging later on.
Yes. So with that, we're going to close. I want to say that the whole thing with She Is You is for us to see ourselves in one another. It's about humanity, it's about empathy. And I think that's a good closing to close on, that
Mm,
just remember to be human. That person still has value. Yes, there's a baby now, but the mother is still
yeah.
valuable. Still a person. She needs all the love.
And I think the other thing for me, Jill, that I just really want to say to every single woman, you are not alone. For every moment that you think to yourself, is this only me? Am I the only one that feels this way? I guarantee you the answer is no. You are not alone. Not when your baby is awake at 5 a.m., not when your baby is awake at midnight, not when your baby has woken up 5 times in the night, not when your baby won't bring up that wind. You are not alone. Not when your baby's throwing that tantrum at 2 years old. You are not alone.
Thank you very much, Labeeqah. Thank you for
It's a
availing
pleasure.
yourself, giving your time. I'm going to let you end off this interview with a quote that you wanted
Thank
to
you.
read. And thank you to all our viewers. Thank you very much once again, Labeeqah. So I'll let you end off with a quote.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you for allowing this platform. I think it's so important, and I think that whenever someone is given a voice to speak about something where people can realize that, others out there are going through something similar, it's such a powerful tool. So the quote that I want to leave you with says, "Through the blur, I wondered if I was alone or if other mothers felt the same way I did, that everything involving our children was painful in some way. The emotions, whether they were joy, sorrow, love, or pride, were so deep and sharp that in the end they left you raw, exposed, and yes, in pain. The human heart was not designed to beat outside the human body, and yet each child represented just that, a parent's heart, naked, bare, beating forever outside its chest." Thank you.